Logan, since CBS is going to be there, AFC, I mean, obviously you have kind of a connection to like one of these teams. Tell us what you're looking for in this matchup between Drake May and the Patriots against Jarrett Stidham and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, let's start with the Patriots, a side I'm familiar with. Always in the AFC Championship. Obviously, a lot of that was Tom Brady, but credit to the organization, and going through a quick rebuild, drafting Drake May. Mike Vrabel didn't do that. The previous regime did that. Drafted Drake May, who obviously has proved to be a great case. And then Robert Kraft and getting Mike Vrabel. He had to pay that former staff like $80 million he's paying the previous staff because he fired him after 1 year to get a coach like Mike Vrabel. And I think you see the Mike Vrabel success quickly, and the Liam Cohen and the Ben Johnson is leading to so many coaches getting fired because everyone feels like they're a quarterback and a coach away from a championship game. And I would be weary of that. It doesn't work like that easily. But we talk about how important coaching is in football. I've said it all year. It's the most important sport for coaching, in my opinion. And then obviously the quarterback has a huge thing to do with that. And then obviously Denver's side of things, the Bo Nix injury is just devastating. I was crazy. I never remember a situation like that in the NFL when a team's going to the AFC Championship and then the coach comes back to say the quarterback got injured, but no one really saw it. So that was pretty shocking. But, I wouldn't just take Denver for no good because Sean Payton is now going to coach his butt off. And that defense, who they've been a defensive team, is now going to know, like, hey, we don't have the quarterback. And Jarrett Stidham is going to know not to do what C.J. Stroud did and just use his defense, right? So I think you're still going to get a really, really tough test out of Denver. I think people might write Denver off, but truly, Sean Payton's going to prove why he's probably a Hall of Fame coach, and he's going to coach his best game. They have no choice, and Zach might be able to allude to it. When a star player's down, doesn't mean the team's going to necessarily play worse. You have to play better around them.
Absolutely. And I think Denver is a team, and you look at the defense, both lines of scrimmage. Obviously, you never want your quarterback to go down, but if you look at the teams in the playoffs that are left, if any team could maybe right the ship with their quarterback going down, I think it may be Denver with the cast they have around them, Coach Payton. I think the big thing for New England is going to be, and I don't think they will just because of how Coach Vrabel is. And, I've been a big admirer of Coach Vrabel from afar my whole career, just playing against his teams and how they play. But I know he'll keep those guys ready and not let them look ahead with the starting quarterback being down in Denver.
Facts.
So I thought it would be fun, considering we have both sides of the ball represented here, if I found some stats from the last matchup and asked if these were going to continue or if this was just like something that was weird in last time. So the first one for my favorite defensive back. Christian Gonzalez saw 16 targets. What? Why? So see, okay, whatever. That's not only the most in the playoffs, but it's the most he's ever seen. It's the most for any single defender in a single game this season. Okay, what were the results? 7 receptions allowed for a grand total of 58 yards. It's 3.6 yards per target. He forced 5 tight window targets. It wasn't a good result. So will Christian Gonzalez remain being super dominant in this game, Logan?
Yeah, he'll be super dominant. He's a transcendent player. Like I was trying to explain people this, and I should be having a sit-down interview with Christian Gonzalez this week. That should be airing on CBS, so we'll chop it up. But
it's like I do, and I didn't.
There
this time I really
did. Little preview. But I don't know if you guys can relate. You guys probably relate just to different athletes, but if I saw one clip of Christian Gonzalez, his first practice as a Patriot, 5 seconds, and I said, "Yup, he's going to be generational." He is so smooth. He is so technically gifted. It's like watching. It's a little bit of exaggeration, but it's like when you watch Ken Griffey swing a bat, or you watch Steph Curry shoot a jump shot. It's just he is that smooth, right? He's the smoothest corner in the game. You can argue Stingley, you can argue Surtain, but Christian Gonzalez is anybody's top 3, top 5 cornerback list, but he is the smoothest generational athlete at that position. And his game is real. It's not fluky. It's going to be so consistent. So they run a lot of scheme where he's going to get the forced targets. They run a lot of man-to-man. He might be on the best receiver, or they run a lot of stuff where they help other guys and they force you to throw at him because they're confident but his technique's so good. His fluidity is so good. You really can't teach it. I didn't have that fluidity that he has. And you can just see it in one snap. Like, that guy's legit. Like, one pass set. Zach, you ever play with somebody you see in one practice rep, you're like,
Tyron Smith, you watch him set, you just know. I mean, look at him, but yeah, same deal.
He's a scary looking guy. Okay, so let's talk about the Pats O-line for a second because we saw Will Anderson pressure Will Campbell 3 times. 2 of those resulted in sacks. Now, on the other side, it's a little bit different because the guy who was the most dominant for Denver's defensive line was actually Zach Allen in the last matchup on the inside. They have it from all over the place, though. So is Will Campbell, this poor rookie who has been getting nothing but, like, his arms are too short since being drafted, right? Is this a cause for concern? I mean, I would argue a lot of this is rookiness, not necessarily short arm situations, but Denver's front, obviously the most sacks on the season, the most pressure. What are you seeing from the Patriots O-line?
Yeah, I think you playing young players, you're going to have your growing pains throughout the year. Both their young guys missed some time too, so that hurts a little bit. But, at the end of the day, he is a rookie left tackle, and he's going against, an all-pro guy in Will Anderson all day. So it's going to be a tough way out. I do think they did, that he made plays on the plays they didn't help him out, right? Vrabel and the Patriots system, McDaniels, they've always done a great job, I think better than anyone, at finding ways to help their offensive line and protection. Even when they have guys that can shut guys down, they're still giving those tackles chips and different things for the D-line to look at. So they're going to have to come up with a plan with Benito and Cooper and those guys coming off the edge. So they're going to need some help. But like we saw, they took some licks on Sunday, but they were able to right the ship and keep the ball moving forward.
So I would have had a Bo Nix note, but it's kind of irrelevant. The thing that I have on this side for Denver's offense is the amount and volume and the reliance on screen passes. We've talked about it all season long. Bo Nix had the second most yards off of passes intended to go behind the line of scrimmage of any quarterback. Jared Goff was number 1, in case anyone was keeping track at home. It was 740 in the regular season. But, obviously the scheme is going to be a little different. Now, I did do preseason with the Broncos, which means I got to see more snaps of Jarrett Stidham
there you go.
than anyone has, anywhere because, live, because he had 1 kneel down this season. So, what is the strategy? Because we know that the Patriots defense is not going to let you run the ball. I mean, look at what they did to Woody Marks. They've been excellent at stopping the run. I can give you the thing that I thought was most interesting was that Woody Marks was stuffed on 8 of his 14 attempts. That's the second highest rate for any running back on a season. So they're not going to let you run. So what are we going to see from Jarrett? Like, what do you expect to see from Jarrett Stidham? I'll start with you, Zach. Like, how, in offensive meetings, what do you think they're planning for? Because they do have a really good O-line. Denver does have a good O-line.
They do have a great O-line, and they're still going to try to run the ball. I mean, when you got Quentin Miners and Bowles and McGlinchey, and these guys can move guys off the line of scrimmage. So it's not that they're not going to run the ball, but like you said, they got to find creative ways to get the ball out of his hands quickly, like a run game, whether it be a screen pass, your little swing passes. But I do think Stidham's been in Denver a long time. If I had to guess, I don't know him at all, but there's got to be some confidence in him that he's been there a long time. I know when we had backup quarterbacks that were there for extended amount of years, you did have a lot more confidence in those guys being in the building, knowing what they're all about as a football team. So I don't think, although, yes, we want the starting quarterback in, I don't think in that building the worries are as high as they
Logan,
are
how do
in
you
the
prep
media.
for a different quarterback in this situation? Do you look at like historical film against Stidham, or do you think it's more about Sean Payton? Because what's really interesting is the difference between that last game was how much they used a bunch of motion. We hadn't seen Denver use anywhere near that much motion, and they passed from motion more than they had all season long, like 78% of the time. So it is a totally different game plan in this last matchup against the Bills than it had been all season long to begin with. So what do you think as a defense, how are you prepping for Jarrett Stidham? And I mean, obviously, hopefully you get Troy Franklin back and Pat Bryant, some of their wide receivers, but how are you prepping in this moment?
Well, first of all, I think it's a lot about a backup quarterback. They don't play often. So when they play, what's their demeanor? Right? And are they a confident person? Are they rattled? What were they like? And I think Stidham was a former Patriot. So I don't know how many Patriots were on the team with him, but I know people around the building probably know how he was and what his demeanor was and what his strengths and what his weaknesses are. And it's a small league. There's a lot of turnover from team to team. I can't think outside of Kyle Shanahan I think that Sean Payton's probably the next best coach of having a scheme help a backup quarterback.
Yep.
Right? It's not like go replace what Josh Allen does. Like Kyle Shanahan, the Niners, they throw the ball short, they throw the ball left and right. Sean Payton has always spread the ball out quickly, has good plays for his quarterback to get in rhythm. They stretch the field horizontally a lot, not just vertically. A lot of passes to the sides and screens. And so I think Bo Nix runs a system that it's quarterback friendly, I would say. So a lot of their offense can look the same. Obviously, they're going to have to run the ball, right? You can't put it on Stidham's hands to win the game. So they're going to have to run the ball. But Mike Vrabel and that defense I was part of in Tennessee, same thing. We were a dominant run defense. He's going to stop that run and make it be in Stidham's hands. So how comfortable can Sean Payton have Stidham early in the game? Can he find him easy completions? And Sean Payton's made a career of finding his quarterbacks easy completions. Like Drew Brees' career, one of the most accurate passers of all time. Bo Nix, extremely accurate of a passer. Similar, trickle it down. That's not just because of the quarterbacks. It's the system and what the system allows them to do. Great players, but they understand the system. So I think, like I've been saying, it's going to be a tougher test than Patriot fans might just assume, because he is going to have a system that's going to help his quarterback out early in this game. And it's going to be screen passes. It's going to be short lateral passes. It's going to be ways to keep the offense rolling. It's not going to be like, oh no, Lamar Jackson's out. How is this guy going to replace that production?
You're not going to do.
Right.
Right.
It's not that type of situation. So it's much more quarterback friendly. And we'll see how Stidham is able to handle that. But Sean Payton's a great coach. He's going to have a plan for him.
Real quick, I think that when you hear they're going to stop the run or whatever, as a Denver fan, you don't have to go out and run it 150 yards and 30 times. You just have to be efficient on the ground and let the quarterback stay comfortable in there. You can't put him in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 all day. Let's just be efficient on 1st and 2nd down in the run game and give him, 3rd and manageable and keep the ball moving
To me,
forward.
this one comes down to the red area, because if you look at where New England has been vulnerable, their red zone defense, not good. In the regular season, it ranked 30th. They allowed 68% of red zone trips to result in touchdowns. And in the postseason, the red zone offense has a 25% success rate. So my question, obviously, look, Drake May against man coverage, he lit up everyone. 8 for 12 for 106 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Texans. Now, the thing that they used were shorter passes. He went 8 of 11, for two of his touchdowns. He did a 2.59 second time to throw. So Drake May, his ability to understand what Denver's defense is giving him and leverage probably his tight end, because that's usually what Denver's defense allows you to target. That will be, to me, the key in this game. And can they turn those drives that get into the red area into points? That's, to me, it's who's better in the red area, because that the Patriots defense, for as great as they've been, the red area has been a problem. And now with the offense having a little bit different red zone results in the postseason, that's something where Denver's defense could have an advantage. Also, and I can't not mention it here, I hate Jarrett Stidham's nickname. It is the worst in football. Stiddy. Absolutely not. I would not let anyone call my quarterback Stiddy. Never. Not once.
That's funny. Quick point about the red area. I agree. Look, it all comes down to points, right? In big games, Zach's been there. He knows it comes down to who has more points at the end of the game. Obviously, 7 opposed to 3 is a big difference. I think for the Patriots, though, they gave up, not a great red zone defense, but I think they have some of the fewest trips to the red zone. So people don't get down there enough for them to play it, to get good enough at it. And they'll take that, right? Because scoring defense, I'm sure they're probably top 10.
Sure.
So although they allow people to score when they're down there, if you don't get down there, kind of irrelevant how many points you give up a game. Obviously, that defense has been lights out, turning the ball over, getting sacks in this playoffs. So I think that is kind of the biggest, not how you want to draw it up, but if you don't let people in the reds, if Stiddy can't get the ball down there, then it don't matter if that red zone defense isn't good. You got to get in the red zone to then operate. And I know New England's had their hat off on not letting people even get in the red zone.
So one last thing before we move on from this game. I'm doing a little tiny feature on Game Day Morning about the altitude and the difference with the altitude. So I was curious if you guys have had experiences where does it come into play? Because technically you need 9 days to adjust to altitude. Clearly no one has that. So the next best thing is to come in as quickly, so as soon to when the game starts as possible. that you don't miss the game. That's the strategy for that. And you're having 17% less oxygen 1 mile up. And like there's some cool numbers that will nerdy stuff that will show you. But how did that manifest for you in terms of playing there?
Whenever we played out there, I felt a pretty big difference. I'm not gonna lie, flying out there the day before the game, but it was always like early in the game, like the first couple drives or the first quarter, and then after that, I would kind of settle in. But it definitely is. It definitely is a factor, no doubt. I mean, Logan's probably played there more than I. I think I've only played there once or twice, but I remember feeling it being out there.
So I played, the last 2 AFC Championships, Denver, New England out there, 2013, 2015. And we also used to play them in the regular season all the time because the NFL wanted Brady Manning as much as possible. And we spent a week out there one time in the regular season, or 5 days, like went out there on a Tuesday and spent the whole week. We had times in AFC Championship games where you can't do that, so we went normal the day before. And I definitely agree with Zach. In the first kickoff and the first drive, you need that oxygen tank. Like, you just feel like that's when our adrenaline's always high as a player, and then you're kind of out of breath in the first drive is because you're so excited. And then most people say after that first hit, I settle down. After that first, the buildup is big for this game. So we definitely felt it in my opinion, I felt it the first drive of the game. And then when I came back after that first defensive stop or whatever, they got a field goal. I mean, Peyton Manning used to score all the time with that offense. So whether they scored or not, you kind of got that oxygen on the side, you settled down. And then I really didn't feel it after that. Now, we didn't have tremendous success out there. That could be Peyton Manning. That could be just Denver. But I didn't feel it past, I would say, the first few drives of the game is when it's the biggest factor. And it's a real factor.
It's so interesting because you'd think it'd be the end of the game because fatigue, your recovery rate in less oxygen becomes longer. So you would think fatigue towards the end of the game would set in more than necessarily the first drive or whatever. So that's a really interesting insight because I would have assumed the fourth quarter.
It may,
would
but
really feel it.
you physically lose your breath quicker.
Well, I also think by the end of the game too, you're not thinking about it at all. Like before the game, it's like it's in the back of your mind, like, man, I hope my wind is good. And by the fourth quarter, you're not thinking about that at all. You're just
because I was like, when they went into overtime with Buffalo, I was like, I wonder if we'll see effects of fatigue here. I don't know, just because there's no way that that to me, like especially if you're using tempo or the offense is really smart about wearing people out. Like, I mean, I see people at sea level whose defenses get gassed in the fourth quarter. It's not like it doesn't happen then. So is it extra gassed? 17% more gassed. Whatever. So, but the ball does travel between 5 and 10 more yards on deep posts or for field goals. However, you do lose something in accuracy. Just a little something.
Yeah, what do you know? Like
the more you know,
the more you know. Look, I know Peyton Manning used to utilize that tempo. They definitely used it to their advantage. I don't think they're going to do that with Stidham. There is also natural fatigue during the game, right? You just wear and tear.
And it's also week 21,
right.
Like it's not.
But I think like when you're so conditioned to finish the game strong, then no player is going to admit or say, man, I was really worn down by the end of the game. Like 2 minutes to go win the game, everyone feels at their best. I mean, this is all you got, And I always say this, like in terms of the playoffs, it's won in cold weather. So the 4.340s go out the window. No one's running a 4.3 in under 40 degrees. Okay, they're running it in their indoor track in the spring, but no receivers running 4.4 at 40, under 40 degrees. You look at the weather in Chicago; it was snowing in both games. Speed is no longer a factor, and that's why the offense and defensive lines come into so much play. That's why running the ball comes into so much play. Physicality comes into so much play. I know we love the speed, but those speed teams don't last. Kansas City Chiefs in their day, but they don't really last in the cold weather like that. So. Again, we're not running as fast. The game's played at a 4.5 now. The game's played at 4.6. So I might not be physically as tired at corner because I'm not chasing guys as fast as I'm chasing them in September, right? That's when guys are really running really fast. But when you have 2 high ankle sprains and a pulled hammy, now you're in week 20, you're not running that 4.3 no more. That's like, them days are, that was 10 weeks. That's when the rookies hit the wall and us veterans come and win the championships. That's where you start signing old guys around this time of year because the game slowed down to my speed now.